It'll definitely be interesting. I'm glad the Texans finally actually have a plan because I feel like they just wandered around the last 2 years, just doing nothing, running around with Dougie Mills as their quarterback and firing coaches after 1 year, even though they have one of the worst rosters in the NFL.
The Houston Texans. They weren't a very fun team to watch last year. They had some games that are really interesting, like when they were up, what was it, 24-0 against the Chiefs, and ended up blowing it. But I think, CJ Stroud coming in, they have their questions, but I think he's going to be the man. I think he's going to be a consistent quarterback, something that Houston hasn't really ever had. And I think Will Anderson arguably could become the rookie of the year. I think taking the two of them really solidify that team, and they're moving in the right direction, although I don't think it will be enough. But like I said, their defense is going to be really fun to watch this year, and let's see what CJ Stroud can do with that offense.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I'm glad the Texans finally actually have a plan because I feel like they just wandered around the last 2 years, just doing nothing, running around with Dougie Mills as their quarterback and firing coaches after 1 year, even though they have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. The roster still is a work in progress, especially because they made no progress in the last 2 years. I mean, are they going to give Demeco Ryans more than 1 year? It's been an absolute joke that they fired coaches after 1 year, 2 years in a row. That's stupid. I'm excited to see what Stroud does, though. Dameon Pierce is a good running back. They added Singletary too, but I'm not sure what he's going to bring. The offensive line is solid, but I'm concerned about receiver. Who is Stroud going to throw to? John Mechie is an inspiration to us all. It's really awesome. He's back. He's going to be a guy that maybe can step up. They drafted Tank Dell this year. Maybe he can step up. They don't really have anyone else. They have Robert Woods, who is just old at this point. He produced nothing last year. So I'm a little bit concerned with receiver. Defensively, the defensive line has a huge boost now, having Will Anderson, like you said. And then they also added Perryman at linebacker to help against the run. So there's some improvements. Secondary is still a work in progress. Stingley struggled as a rookie, made them already regret taking him over Sauce for sure. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what they can do. They have a path forward now. They aren't ready to compete this year, but they actually have a path forward. Matt, what are your thoughts?
So, on the receiver thing, shout out John Mechie for beating cancer. Robert Woods, I don't think he's going to be terrible. I think there's nothing going on in Tennessee. He was actually still pretty good when the Rams traded him away. So, and then he bounced around. I think Patriots were a team he got hurt at. But I think he can be their number one in terms of like a deep threat. Mechie, kind of want to see what he does in the offense. Tank Dell's going to be a big player. Nico Collins has been there, so he's their speed guy. So a lot of drag routes with him, a lot of slants. He can take it to the house at any second. So there's no flashy names, but I think they have a group of just overall top to bottom solid receivers. Offensive line, they have probably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And it's funny to think that the Texans have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. But Laramie Tunsil is the best left tackle. Shaq Mason signed on. Titus Howard is going strong. Couple of holes in the middle, but they got depth behind them. So it's like they have a similar player behind them in the depth chart. So if they struggle, the other guy can come in. Tight end, they got Dalton Schultz, so that's going to be huge. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was in Dallas, but I think he's going to be rather solid. Defensively, lots of promise here, but just like the offense, they have a lot of similar players in the depth chart. So if somebody doesn't do well or gets hurt, they have another guy who can step in to take over. But Jerry Hughes is not a Will Anderson. I'll tell you that right now. Will Anderson is probably going to be defensive rookie of the year.
Hey, Jerry Hughes is still going strong at 35, though.
I
9
know.
sacks last year.
And then secondary doesn't impress me, but they have some names. And then they have depth behind them. So I can see them finishing second in the division. Literally all of it hinges upon that man on the screen right there, CJ Stroud. How can he play? Is he going to be able to scramble a little bit, get those yards that maybe a stagnant offense wouldn't get?
Yeah.
Damian Pierce, how consistent is he going to be? Devin Singletary, is he going to be okay like he was in Buffalo, or is he just going to be terrible? There's a lot of question marks surrounding this team, including the head coach. I mean, Demeco Ryans, I love Demeco Ryans, but how is he as a head coach? We've never seen that before. How is his coaching staff? How did they get it put together? So the whole team is a giant question mark. They could do pretty well. They could make the playoffs. They could miss the playoffs by a little bit, or they could just do absolutely nothing and tank for somebody else next year.
Yeah. Hey, maybe they could tank for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Maybe.
Yeah,
That would make a lot of sense.
Didn't they give up their
That's a
pick?
good interview read.
Didn't they give up their pick to take Will Anderson?
Oh, you're right. They did.
So maybe they have
That's
motivation
The
to
Cardinals
not
have 2
get it.
picks.
Yeah.
They're not.
So maybe they have the motivation to actually win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of question marks, like you guys say, but I think they'll win a few games. You know, they'll make a little.
Definitely a lot more than last year.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, they have a path forward.